So I'm about to go to fucking war with my HOA, and I need you guys to tell me if I'm crazy or not. This is going to be a bit of a story time.
First of all, you're crazy. If you're going to go to war with your HOA, and you have to ask if you're crazy, you probably are. So congratulations, you just bought a home. And because you were so excited about having a yard and a new place to live, you decided to go buy a shed. And you had the shed delivered. It was exactly what you wanted, and they pulled in the backyard and dropped it off, and then a knock comes on your door by the HOA president that says, obviously, you didn't read the documents because you're not allowed to have a shed.
If you feel like you have the worst HOA, I think I may have you topped, and you tell me, because they are now wanting to DNA test our dogs. Yeah, because they think there's a dog shit issue in our community. And I walk my dog every single day. I never see dog shit playing around anywhere. It's a lot of professionals.
They're going to DNA the dog to find out whose crap it is. All right, now that's a new one. I haven't heard that yet.
It's a lot of professionals that live here, and I just don't see anybody not picking up their dog. So anyway, they were telling me for months, like, oh, you need a DNA test your dog. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Also, my dog does not go to the bathroom like in their common area. She goes to the bathroom at my house. So I'm like, I don't really see the reason for me to do this if my dog's not like going to the bathroom in your common area. So they keep threatening me, telling me, oh, we're going to send you, fines and all this. So finally I say, sure, I'm going to do it. And I'm like super pissed. I go and do it last week. It was so traumatic. They made me put a swab, like it's, C word, in my dog's mouth. And my dog's like 2 years old. She's crazy, mini golden doodle.
Oh man, look, I've seen it all now. If I happen to get, first of all, if you watch my videos, you know I don't like HOAs. I won't live in one. I don't like condominium associations. Look, there's enough. I'm okay with going to see a neighborhood in a house and seeing if my neighbor will have a boat in the yard or a broken down car, because I just won't buy the house. But I don't need somebody telling me that I need to have my dog DNA swabbed because somebody's dog pooped in the neighborhood and they've got to get to the bottom of it. We'll put up a surveillance camera, for crying out loud. This is exactly why. So there are all kinds of cases that are going on right now where people have bought their house and they didn't read the documents to the homeowners association, and they're really surprised at what's inside. Maybe they have a vehicle with markings on it because they work for a company and that's the vehicle they drive back and forth. And maybe they found out that it's no vehicles in the community, vehicles that are marked can't be parked within the community. Maybe it's you want a dog or a pet and you want a fence in your backyard and you can't have one. It could be numerous things. You want to change the color schematic of, your house. And, you have architectural committees, you have all these different committees. You have to submit your plans, submit your colors, submit the product that you're using, the brand or whatever, the model number, whatever it is. And then you have these people sit around and decide after you spent $1 million or $700,000 for your house or $250,000 for it. Doesn't matter. It was your purchase, your house. And now all of a sudden you can't do what it is that you want to do. And people say, well, that's right. I don't want them next door. I don't want somebody with the pink door next door. Come on, man. How many people paint their door pink? It's a way of control that I am not willing to sign up for.
All around her mouth, and she was going crazy. And they were like, it needs to go like super back here. I'm like, what the heck? So then they forced me to pay for the DNA testing. And now they're making me have my dog wear this like badge on her when she's walking around so people know that she was DNA tested. This is the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life. So like, who here in the HOA has raised their hand and said, I'm going to be the person who picks up the dog shit and DNA tests it? Is this not crazy or what?
They got a test at home kit, a DNA shit test at home for canines. What about if you had a cat? Are they asking you to do the same thing for cats?
HOA will be putting a lien on my house and then starting the foreclosure process. Story time. I bought a house in May of 2024, and my house is in an HOA. Now, when I bought the house, I didn't know of any issues or any work that needed to be done on the property. Everything was great for the first few months. And then in March of 2025, this year, I was notified that there was going to be work that needed to be done on all of the properties, and my portion was going to cost $23,000. This amount was later reduced to $22,000. And I started reaching out to my HOA, explaining to them, like, hey, this must be a mistake because there's no way that I owe this money. I haven't even lived here for a full year. My HOA tells me that I need to reach out to my realtor and the seller, and I do so. And I find out that the
Mm.
seller provided information to my realtor that showed this work was going to be done. And my realtor never forwarded that information to me so that I can
Mm.
make a final decision on if I actually wanted to purchase the property or not.
This is the problem. So let's just talk about this for a minute. If there has been special assessments that have been made within a recent period of time, this should be disclosed in your HOA docs, your resale certificate. But I really find that a lot of people don't read this stuff. So I guess the question would be, did you read it? Was it disclosed? If it was nowhere to be found, she could probably have a disclosure, maybe a lawsuit for lack of disclosure. But a lot of these HOAs will just make decisions that are pretty recent. Like they have a annual, maybe she bought it in November. They had their annual meeting in December. They decided to approve work. And so maybe that was made at that annual December meeting. And then the notices go out that there's special assessments. You have to dive into these things, ask the questions with the association, try and gather any minute meeting notes that may give you some insight to things that they are getting proposals on. So if they're deciding something that is going to raise an assessment or significantly raise your HOA fees, they had probably talked about that in that last 12 months, in one of the meetings, at least in the last 12 months, to get estimates and things like that. It was a process. Guys, this is why I say it's critical to spend a lot of time and due diligence before you buy a house in an HOA. And a lot of times, buying an HOA in a brand new development, buying a house in a brand new HOA, like a new build, a lot of times once the community turns over to the neighbors, the board of directors of that HOA, the builder's finally out of there, a lot of times they realize that they can't continue to maintain the property for the price that was established by the builder developer in the first place. So those low HOA fees, all of a sudden now you're in there for 2 years and they have to significantly raise the HOA fees to cover the cost of the expenses. So I caution you, make sure you're not buying at the top of your limit. If your lender tells you that you can buy a house for $400,000 or $440,000, consider buying something for less than what you're qualified for. And then also plan on, if you're buying into an HOA, checking those documents out, understanding what you can and cannot do, and plan for money in your budget for those fees to increase, HOA fees to go up.
I've tried to work with my HOA so many times, explaining to them that I don't have the money to pay for this. I wouldn't have had the money last year. I wouldn't have had the money the year before that. Like, this is $22,000 out of pocket. And so I reached out to my realtor and I called her out on our mistake, and I've spoken with her boss, and I've been trying to speak to any attorneys with this company, any higher ups. And they basically told me that they will not be cutting a check for this mistake.
Yeah, well, again, time out. It may not be a mistake. So if believe me, I mean, I call it like I see it. I'm not protecting the realtor in this case, but the question is, as a broker, if that's my agent that this allegation is against, of withholding information, number one, did that agent have that information? Did they know that there was a special assessment that had been decided prior to the contract being accepted? because if it was decided after the contract was accepted, well, you're too late for disclosures, but you still have to tell them. And, there probably would be an out for that buyer at that point. Like, oh my gosh, or the seller could pay it. The buyer could say, well, you have to pay it. But it's not necessarily the buyer's agent's fault here. This is a disclosure issue potentially, or when was that decision made to special assess? If you buy an association, you need to look at the financials of the association and see how many assessments they've had in the past. That will tell you whether this is a typical course of action for the HOA, but also what are the reserves for the different line items? Do they have a significant reserve for snow plowing in case they get a bad winter and one snow event because they get a blizzard's $100,000 and 100 people in the community have to bear the cost of an $80,000 overage for snow services for that year. So this is how it works. They run on a budget, and if they're underfunded or something comes up and they need that money from somewhere, if they don't have enough of a reserve account to pay for it, they special assess the owners. So it's part of life living in an HOA.
This money was supposed to be due by April 30th, and I do think that I had an extension till June 1st because I was originally told that the payments would be June 1st, but it is now June 3rd, and I still don't have the money, and I won't have the money, and so I'm pretty sure that they're going to put a lien on my house and then foreclose it, and I'm going to be out of a home because my realtor did not forward me documents stating that this work was going to be done.
Yeah, most states, as far as I'm aware, I'm not an attorney, but I'm pretty sure the HOA will definitely try and foreclose on your house if you have unpaid balances.
So I'm about to go to fucking war with my HOA, and I need you guys to tell me if I'm crazy or not. This is going to be a bit of a story time.
First of all, you're crazy. If you're going to go to war with your HOA, and you have to ask if you're crazy, you probably are.
And I think what people don't realize about millennials, or maybe it's just me in particular, I'm not going to back down from bullshit. If someone's trying to f me over or get one over on me, I'm not going to stand for it, and I'm going to fight back. So here's the deal. A little over a month ago, I got a warning letter from the management company from my HOA telling me that my lawn looked like shit, and I needed to fix it. Otherwise, I was going to get fined. For reference, here was what was in the actual warning letter, right? So general landscaping. Please fertilize and seed your lawn to promote growth. That's all the instruction that was given in the warning letter. Easy enough. Went to Home Depot. I bought lawn soil. I bought fertilizer. I bought weed killer. I bought all the stuff. After watching a shitload of YouTube videos, I spent hours in my yard dethatching, pulling up all the dead grass, putting new soil down. Over the next couple of weeks, I spent time watering it, watching more YouTube videos, figuring out how to get the grass to grow, and I'm doing everything I can to try to get this fucking lawn to grow. Smash cut to a few weeks later, I get this lovely notice in the mail, and it's pretty much the same thing that I got in the original warning. A lot of the same language. You need to fertilize and seed your lawn, but there is one difference in this. They are fining me $125 for not taking action on my lawn after I already took action on the lawn. And this $125 is absolutely unjust. This aggression will not stand. I'll take this lying down. Are you kidding me? $125? I want to show you before and after pictures of the lawn so you could tell me just how insane this $125 charge is. Here's the before picture, right? And I'll be real with you guys. This looks really bad. The lawn looked terrible. We're the worst looking lawn on the block. We're for sure lowering everyone's property value. So I'm not that mad about the original warning, but this is what it looked like before I did anything. And this is the picture that they included in the fine, saying that I hadn't done anything, that the lawn still looks bad, and that I needed to fertilize and seed my lawn, which I had already done. And I'm absolutely flabbergasted, right? They gave me 2 weeks to figure out how to get grass to grow with only fertilizing and seeding. Hell no, that's not going to work. So I'm fighting this all the way to the top. I'm calling the mayor.
You're calling the mayor. Oh, man. Look, this is why you buy into an HOA, because you want a beautiful, picture perfect neighbor's property. Right. So their first account of a homeowners association was like in 1905 in Los Angeles County, California. But really, it wasn't until after World War II when a builder, Bill Levitt, he was a World War II veteran himself, founded this company called Levitt and Sons. And he really was the one that formalized HOAs in the United States. And one of the things that he wanted to create were these homogenous type of communities where everything looked picture perfect and everybody looked the same. The problem is back then they were very corrupt in what they meant by homogenous neighborhoods. But the picture perfect sort of kind of stuck, right? So obviously we have fair housing laws right now that protect people's rights to be able to buy houses in anywhere, right? And we've got national fair housing laws, federal fair housing laws. But this concept of things must look perfect is really beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, right? Personally, I like a lawn filled with weeds. I don't have a problem in having weeds for grass or weeds in my lawn. I like when the purple flowers, the yellow flowers, and whatever, the big dandelions that blow seeds all over the place. So you have to understand when you're buying into an HOA, it's like a regime, and you're going to behave a certain way or you're going to pay the consequences, and the consequences are going to be financial.
I'm going to City Hall. I don't give a shit. I am raising hell over this fine. But realistically, where we're at is I called the management company. They submitted an appeal. There's an appeals council. They told me, hey, don't worry. You don't have to show up to the meeting. I said, I'm fucking going to that meeting. Are you kidding me? Be there with bells on. You tell me when, where, and I'm fucking there. I'm going to go full Johnny Cochran. Like, I want to show up to this meeting with a suit and tie. I want to bring a briefcase. I want an easel with big printouts of the pictures. I want to get one of those pointy wands that extends so I can use the wand to point at the pictures so I can make these people realize what fucking shitheads they are. All right, judgment call time. Am I absolutely fucking insane about this or what?
Well, I mean, I guess, like they're not going to care about you being in a briefcase and a suit and tie, but you're probably going to still owe the money.
New tonight, a Tampa Bay couple is organizing a march on the state capitol to protest against Florida's homeowners associations. The couple, Paul and Brandy Miller, became so fed up with their HOA, they filed a lawsuit starting HOA reform Facebook groups, and they're now reaching out to elected leaders.
We need to band together. We can defeat this. We can make this right if we band together.
The Millers contacted I-Team investigator Adam Walser and shared their story after seeing his extensive reporting on problems with other Florida HOAs.
Guys, I want to say that this isn't just happening in Florida. There are a lot of people that are unhappy with their HOAs. They're getting fines in the mail. Like I said, with the issue with the shed, their buyers, a lot of them aren't reading the documents and understanding it. But this is sort of a different scenario here.
But there's always this looming dark cloud. When I come home in the evening and I turn and I go through that gate.
Paul and Brandy Miller say that dark cloud comes from their HOA.
I've been on the verge of tears a lot. I wish I could take this home and pick it up and move it somewhere else.
The Millers say the problem comes from inside the gate.
We're on high alert.
Yeah. We feel like the outsiders looking in.
The Odessa neighborhood's HOA has 3 board members. State records show each has served on the board for more than 20 years. When do you guys have board of director elections?
We don't.
They don't have board of director elections. So the same 3 people have been in charge for more than 20 years.
At their home, they asked a director if they could put up a fence.
And he said, fences aren't allowed, as he stood in front of the neighbor's fence across the road from us.
Paul says the director also told him sheds weren't allowed. Then a new shed arrived down the street. And Paul says the same director told another neighbor to get rid of his new landscaping.
And he couldn't have these because it was a hedge.
And it blocked the view of his house.
And it blocked the view of the home.
Meanwhile.
And then you have this. This is the front of his home.
So all of these issues, so if they really do have these kind of crazy regs, then, and again, I'm no attorney, but if they're contradictory to what they have allowed. I mean, part of the problem when you're doing enforcement, and believe me, I'm very familiar with condominium and HOA associations. And through my career, I've worked for many of them. And what happens is the argument that becomes is if you have rules and don't enforce them, it makes it really difficult for you to enforce them at a later time because you've let other people get away with it. It becomes a really good argument. Again, I'm not an attorney, but it is a very good argument to say, look, they allowed this, but they're really discriminating against me for whatever reason. So very interesting what they're saying so far.
Feel like this is kind of selective enforcement of the rules and covenants and bylaws here.
We've had a lot of selective enforcement.
Paul filed a lawsuit against his
Selective
HOA, Keystone Park Colony Homeowners Association, in Pasco County Circuit Court, alleging the board was enforcing rules that do not exist and targeted him with unauthorized restrictions while allowing others in the community to operate freely. A hearing is scheduled for next month. We contacted the HOA's president and attorney, but didn't hear back.
I cannot park my own truck in my own driveway.
The Millers reached out to us because of our reporting on HOA problems in recent years.
It's an abuse of power, for sure.
Homeowners in a Wesley Chapel neighborhood said their vehicles were towed for expired tags in the middle of the night.
31 vehicles. Fine. And I figured 10 of them.
A Carrollwood community received six-figure legal bills over HOA elections.
Yeah, hour upon hour upon hour upon hour, it becomes a sticking point real quickly.
$200 and some thousand would do a whole lot in this community,
It
right?
sure would.
And our investigation into the arrest of a Riverview mom got national attention. She spent 7 days in jail after her HOA sued her over brown grass, and she missed a court hearing.
There was no bond, so I couldn't even go home to my family. I sat in there for 7 days. 7 days in the jailhouse, like a criminal.
We were told we were going to be able to use that.
The Millers say they spent 7 years fighting their HOA. Before you moved into this neighborhood, did you have any idea there were problems with HOAs?
No, never. I never dreamed there would be this issue.
We got to the point where we said, we're going to sell.
Even that came with difficulties when their realtor put up.
Yeah, the problem is that all of these things that you're going through. So as a seller, you're building this great case. You have this court hearing coming up, but this becomes a disclosure issue. As a seller, you don't have to disclose why it is that you're moving in most cases. So I would question, as a real estate broker, is this something that they want to sell their house? Do they have to disclose why? I mean, they have court documents where they're suing their HOA. They have all of this information that's been going back and forth. I can imagine where this would make it nearly impossible for someone else to want to step up and buy this house.
When their realtor put up a for sale sign,
Within an hour, she got a call from a board of director telling her she had 24 hours to take the sign down.
we uncovered the HOA bylaws specifically allow for sale signs. After several months, their realtor gave up, writing, quote, at least 5 serious buyers walked away due to issues with the HOA.
There you have it. So what's happening is, should this guy have walked away 7 years ago? So that's why I'm trying to beat everything that you've heard me say here today, talking about sheds and fences and dead grass and dogs or pets or poop or whatever, how the community deals with neighbors or their own actions is all to be governed in these documents. Believe me, they're like an encyclopedia when you get them. I mean, it's a big, for those of you that know what that is, I'm not talking about Wikipedia. I'm talking about a big book. So usually these documents, these restrictive types of documents are voluminous in nature and time-consuming to read, but you need to. If you're looking at buying a house that is within an HOA or a condominium association, you must do it or pay the consequences should you be unhappy with the regulations after closing. Hey guys, I just wanted to take a brief minute and share some exciting news. I have just released my new Todd Simple home buying course. This course is designed for anyone wanting to know how to buy a home. It's designed to take you through the entire home buying process from start to finish. You'll learn how to represent yourself should you want to avoid paying real estate commissions, the best ways to shop for a home, how to avoid costly mistakes, what to look for when touring a home, negotiation tactics, and so much more. In this home buying course, I hold nothing back. In fact, I would go to say that no one has uncovered the home buying process like I have. I've even made a way for you to gift this course to your family and friends. Visit saxrealty.education. The link is also pinned in the comments below. All right, we thank you so much for watching, guys. If you got value out of this video, you can let me know that you did by smashing that thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, consider doing so now. And the best compliment that you could do is send this video off to your family and friends. See you next time. Sachs Realty, Maryland broker number 607720, office number 443-318-4514, equal housing opportunity.